Hello everyone, my name is Wolverine Kang, currently at class 6B0 at Hanoi Star School, Campus 2. In this speaking contest, I chose the topic, out of 5 available topics, I chose environment. Well, you might be asking, why did I choose environment? I'm glad you asked. Because this. Every day, we're emitting pollution levels that are seriously affecting our climate. You may think, why is winter nowadays in Vietnam, where it was hot in the middle of the winter itself, and then it suddenly the temperature dropped, then it became very cold. Like, I'm not talking about the type of cold when you turn on a fan. I'm talking the type when you open the freezer. That whoosh of air that's hitting you, think of that around your body. That is actually how cold it is all the night. Well, there are major problems such as climate change, environmental damage, deforestation, and an abundance of things that I'll soon cover in this video. For now, let's focus on deforestation. As you might know, people are cutting down trees to make paper. It makes sense? Then you might ask yourself this. Oh, so why don't people just add trees? Just plant more trees. They are trying, but the output of people cutting down trees is significantly higher than the amount of people trying to replant them. It's kind of like when you make a sandcastle and a random kid just goes and knocks it over again, and by the time you're done with a new castle, they have wrecked 10 others. It's the exact same as here. When you try to replant something, people already done 10 times the amount of damage. You have to do 10 times the amount of work, which relates to more trees being cut down because they are thinking of having more supply. But by then, it's pretty much negligible. It's pretty much winning or losing or just neutral in the middle. How are you going to do that? Especially Team Trees. They're trying to plant 20 million trees. They have achieved that goal. They're still doing it today. But what they don't know is, but for the people that cut down trees and don't know about anything about Team Trees, they don't know about the signification of the amount of people the amount of animals that are going extinct. Because people are gonna ask, why? Why are animals going extinct? Scientists are trying to stop that. Yeah, they have to think about where the paper comes from. The paper that makes the script of it. The paper who makes literal printing even exist. That's how. Birds are becoming extinct because you're cutting down their homes. Then they have to relocate into another area that still has a possibility of being cut down probably the next day. So it's pretty much trying to build a home, you get fined for it, then your home comes down. You have to try another home, it's way more expensive, and there's a possibility of you being fined again, and that house being, into rubble. Next problem I will tackle, a solution for this problem is to actually use organic ways. Instead of using trees to make, they could just use the pulp themselves. Or they could just make poo from manure. You might think, what is manure? I'll tell you what it is. It's actually cow poop. And I hear yourself asking, why and how? I'll tell you. Because most recycled litter and cow manure is gonna be, instead of using trees that using the pulp, you can use the cow dung that uses grass. The grass is pretty much infinite. You can just pretty much dump your leftover food on it, and the grass there will just grow itself. Yeah? Then the cow dung, or the cow poo, in this matter, you can pretty much just call a facility that specializes in actually making paper from recycled plastic or just used paper. They have technology nowadays to literally use lasers to absolutely obliterate lead, ink, every sort of material that's on paper. They can just use a laser to just blow the thing off. Yeah? That solves for deforestation problems due to the fact that more and more people are using recyclable paper or reusing paper itself. Yeah? So then no more trees will be cut, and that will be more oxygen for the environment. Now, speaking of oxygen, shall we go to CO2 or emissions of climate change? Well, you could say that. So what is climate change? Well, essentially, it's just carbon dioxide building up a layer of, or pretty much like, if you think of this, it's on a hot day. You're using a blanket, like a woolly blanket, to cover yourself. You understand? You know how hot it is? Yeah, that is the climate itself. The climate change is pretty much CO2 buildup on the ozone layer itself. It's actually making a blanket that covers the whole Earth. So whatever sunlight goes through with it, it stays there. It doesn't go out. It doesn't evaporate out because it's covered. It's covered by the O2. You can't make something go through a blanket. Otherwise, you have to destroy it itself. Now, me not having expert terminology on how to do that, I pretty much have no idea for this. But one thing I'll tell you is how to solve it. Okay, the solution here is, the reason why CO2 even exists is most types of transportation are pretty much using gas. And gas? No, I'm not talking about the gas meme. That fast meme? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the emissions that are emitted. Cars, planes, trains, everything. Even you even produce your own CO2 by breathing out, exhaling. See? You're making CO2 itself. By this point, every year, statistically proven that there will be 10 million tons or 1 trillion tons of CO2 every 10 years. 10 trillion. You understand how much? That is pretty much of actually thinking of a number. And trillion is a big number. You may think 10 billion. Some billionaires have that much, but no one has 10 trillion. The whole Earth, this entire Earth, combine their money into one pile. Doesn't even come close to 5 trillion, let alone 10. That's how much CO2 that's being emitted. I don't understand. You think on your motorcycle, that doesn't make CO2? Because it does, actually. Motorcycles are the literal heart of the problem itself. Because instead of cars, you can just motorize. You can just change it for motors that use electricity. No problem in that. But trying to make that lithium or what's in the batteries is a whole nother story. Because you have to use mining machines to go through. And if you mine manually, how long is that going to take? By the time you make enough lithium, probably the universe would die because of heat death. Yeah? So, it's pretty much this. You're trying to make lithium batteries. You're going to make more pollution. Then, trying to put that in pollution is pretty much so hard to do. For now, humanity doesn't have an option for this yet. There are some cars today, like the Mercedes or Tesla, that do have electric capabilities. That Tesla is an electric vehicle. It just runs on lithium. It just runs on motors itself. McLaren Benz is that. Actually, if you don't know, Mercedes is actually making a car that's hydrogen. That uses hydrogen. You heard me, right? Hydrogen. And the exhaust is not carbon dioxide. What is the type of air that we breathe in? Oxygen. And actually, the hydrogen cars, when they move, they actually exhale, or the exhaust is actually O2. So you can actually, when you see those cars on the road, you can actually bend down to the exhaust and breathe in that because it's actually safe. Hydrogen makes oxygen. You might not know that. Okay, now with those two out of the way, we got 3 more topics to go through. Now, ocean. Water rising. Yeah, so what water rising is pretty much when the ocean, littering. Trash and littering. Sorry about that. Trash and littering. You may just drop a banana peel on the floor and an occasional bag of chips in a while, but you might know that even that 1% is actually making so much of significance to the environment. Because if you think about it, if you do that, does that encourage other people to do it? And now, you may not know this, but in the ocean itself already has 30 million tons of trash. Possibly even more beyond that number. You might think, holy cow, that is a lot. Yes, indeed, that is a lot. But it is the environment. We do it. Humanity does it. And now nature, or God, is giving us the final straw because water rises, because the ocean water is actually rising because of melting icebergs due to the climate change itself. Climate change itself is already a big problem as it is. And now making a trash in the ocean is just making lots of things harder. Yeah? So I would think that even trying to stop the litter, there will be people who actually do it. The homeless literally collects cans to make a living. And you just give the trash. It's pretty much spilling money on the floor for the homeless, but you are actually just doing harm to the environment itself. One way to stop it is to actually donate to Team C's. What is Team C's, you might ask? I'll tell you what it is. It's essentially a team of scientists and volunteers who are helping to pick up ocean litter. And currently we have actually removed 30 million tons. Well, that's not all, because every day we're actually just making more and more stuff into the water, in the ocean. Yeah, because you might pick stuff up from on the seabed and on the water itself, but you haven't thought about under the water. 30 million tons itself is just on the water. You know, how much more is there gonna be under? A lot is what my answer is. Way more than 30 million tons. I say that. And for Team C's, every dollar you donate, or every USD dollar you donate to that campaign, 1 pound of trash will be picked out from the ocean. That means if you donate $1,000, 1,000 pounds of trash will be collected out of the ocean and recycled for more use. That is all for trash and litter. Now we've got 2 more topics just to go. For these 2 topics, we're going to discuss heavy hot topics. We only have 1 topic left. So, it is icebergs. Well, icebergs. You might know those big, tiny glaciers. Those massive glaciers. Even the icebergs from Titanic that sunk. Yeah? Remember that? I know you do. Well, icebergs are pretty much ice. And ice is made of water. I mean, before humans have evolved, icebergs are still a staple because no climate change has happened yet. But by then, it's not gonna be as hard as it is gonna be in trying to make them melt because it's pretty much ice. Human hasn't evolved yet. Climate change doesn't even exist yet. So icebergs are just pretty much big clunks of ice in the water itself. But you may think, okay, what's the problem? I'll tell you what. These icebergs are melting. These glaciers are melting. Melting equals more water in. And by then, there's going to be more likely of an actual chance of a tsunami happening. A big plume of water is going to rain down on the city. And just make it, flood the entire thing and make that whole city uninhabitable for the next years. See where am I going with this? Yeah, I think you do. I mean, you might think, oh, more water is good. Glaciers are good. but you might not know this, but actually in glaciers and icebergs in themselves have tiny viruses that could spread a new pandemic. You know COVID-19? Made from China. You don't want that happening again, do you? No. You don't want something that's even worse, like COVID-24. That is gonna make... If the effects of COVID-19 aren't enough, then I don't know what nature is whipping up in COVID-24 itself. Well, in order to fix these problems, we have to fix climate change themselves, which I actually talked earlier in this vid. Thanks a ton for listening to my speech about environment and trash littering, and goodbye everyone.